Good morning. Welcome to the Monday, July 21st, 2014 board meeting. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones so we don't interrupt each other, if you will. And if you would, please, I'll do the invocation, and then I believe it's Commissioner Cole's turn to lead the pledge. Father, we thank you for the privilege of joining together as free men and women to decide our own fate. I pray that you will watch over and guide what we say and do here. I pray that all that we say and do will be pleasing in your sight. I ask this in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'll start on my right. Commissioner Williamson, do you have any additions to the agenda?
I have no further additions, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Salter?
No additions, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Cole?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple information items, if we could add them to economic development or administration about the meeting I was at last week for the National Association of Counties.
Okay, so let's put that as item number 8. Can you do them on the same item? Yeah. And you have 2? Is that correct? Actually 3. All right. Item number 8, Commissioner Cole's got 3 comments. Commissioner Lynchard?
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Walker?
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 items that I believe we'll just go ahead and add to Public Works if it's all right with Mr. Williamson and Mr. Whitfield has the information. One is the bid on the Munson Highway Big Juniper Creek Bridge Rehabilitation Project would be the awarding the bid on the low bidder on that project. And the second is also the low bidder on the Baghdad Mill site T fishing pier, which is also awarded to the low bidder. Mr. Whitfield can brief those, and then we will probably add those to the budget amendment to the Financial Committee on Thursday.
Okay, sir. Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Bell? Anybody down that end? Okay. First is Economic Development Committee, Commissioner Salter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one item. Discussion of proposal in the amount of $22,500 from the Haas Center of the University of West Florida for economic impact analysis of the state of Florida funded Operation Eagle with Andrews Institute for treating wounded members of armed services. And I would ask Shannon Ogletree to come up and give us a brief overview of that.
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, the Operation Eagle Fund is a program instituted by the Andrews Research Institute in Gulf Breeze. They assist wounded veterans, and over the course of time, they've received funding to assist wounded veterans. And in this past fiscal cycle in the state, they received $500,000 to assist additional 100 to 150 wounded veterans. The purpose of this study is basically show how this program is benefiting not just the local economy, but also Santa Rosa County, and also hopefully help them receive additional funding in the years to come so they can really treat more wounded veterans, is my thoughts. And the Haas Center will have this completed by November the 12th, and this study is being funded, or hopefully will be funded by the DRG grant that we received last year through Enterprise Florida.
That was going to be my question. Make sure everyone understands this $22,500 will come from that Department of Defense state grant.
Correct.
Yeah. Any questions? Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend moving this to Thursday's agenda without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. The Administrative Committee, we have 8 items. Item number 1 is discussion of proposed judicial facility site adjacent to the current courthouse by Consulting Architects HOK Incorporated. Who's briefing that today?
Chairman, I'm not sure that there's anybody to brief that. We did receive the, in your packet was the general information on the three sites that had been presented earlier. We had received the probable cost about 8:30 this morning, so we've really not gotten an opportunity. I forwarded those out to you, and we've got them available. I'm not so sure that there's that we
Okay.
can exactly speak to that.
Do we have something that we can put on the screen so the folks at home can see what we're talking about?
We do. I think,
people in the
Roger, do
audience?
you have the, and I believe there was the one other email that you had received. Yeah, we don't have that loaded on the equipment yet. Again, we got it this morning, about 30 minutes ago, so we're moving on that. I'm not sure that we can speak to it at this point. I know that we've got the young man from Hatchmont is here. I'm not sure that we're able to fully understand what those costs are yet. They're just, we need to look at it. If when we get it, we'll get them out to everybody. We just need to, we've not been able to review that or talk to the consultants about it this morning. If any of that makes any sense.
Commissioner Cole.
Thank you. Through the chair, Mr. Walker, you say you are loading it. Can we put this further down on the agenda, or will we
Yeah, we can,
give them
certainly.
time to get it loaded?
Yes, we can do that. I mean, but we're not going to be able to speak to it with any kind of clarity because we're not going to be able to understand it.
Well, I know we got a lot of people that took time out.
I understand.
Of a busy
I
day today.
appreciate that. And yes, we'll get it loaded and then we'll come back and speak to what we know.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. We have before us, I know the public can't see it, but we have the downtown Milton site opinion of probable cost, and that includes the site work, the stormwater, sanitary sewer, and the potable water. Total estimate for that particular site comes in at $1,586,647.62. The Byram property, Byram site opinion of probable cost, same thing, site work, stormwater, sanitary sewer, and potable water. That comes in at $2,895,051.61. And the Paste site, that's the Colwell Banker / Milton Crossings LLC. Opinion of probable cost, site work, stormwater, sanitary sewer, and potable water, $2,146,848.34. And our apologies for not being able to have that for you at home or a visual here, but apparently we didn't receive it in time. So, any of the other commissioners have any comments they want to make?
I just would note that those exclude the impact and permitting fees, any property acquisition costs, and it also excludes any off-site utility costs. So those, I think that's with those, these are the costs apparently just of the site work, it looks like, on each of the parcels, as best I can tell.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak to this particular thing? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record. And you need to fill out speaker's form, please, before you leave. Okay, good. Guy, you got to turn your light on so we can get you on the record. There you go.
All right. I have I'm Guy Thompson, Mayor of the City of Milton, P.O. Box 909, Milton. And I have a letter to you, Mr. Chairman, along with copies for each of the commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here this morning to discuss this issue, as it is very important to our city. Our task force for the downtown side has been working very hard and diligent, and I want to commend them on their work. In this letter, you will see where I had asked the city staff to individually meet with each council person, as we have not had a meeting since our regular meeting earlier this month, and would not have had one before today. So our city manager did meet with each council person, and each council person unanimously of the council as a whole has wholeheartedly endorsed the idea that should you pick the downtown site, the city of Milton is ready and willing to work with you on additional costs, such as you were speaking about earlier, to help reduce the cost of that facility being built in downtown Milton. Ultimately, I think from the figures you were reading out earlier today, that will make it the lowest cost for our taxpayers in this county. And assisting the county in this will be a partnership between the City of Milton and the Santa Rosa County Commission, Board of Commissioners, in placing the courthouse in downtown, and thus ultimately making sure and ensuring the fact that you're building a judicial center that would be built at the lowest possible cost in comparison to the other two parcels of land that you are looking at and reviewing at this time. And I want to offer as mayor, on behalf of our city, any other further assistance, and we'll be anxious to be reviewing the numbers that you presented. And I realize that your company was hard-pressed to get them here this morning, and I understand that. And so now we can sort through those things. And many of the items, I'm not going to be real specific on it until we see more, but we're willing to put forth a financial effort to ensure the fact that downtown is the best location for you to financially build the Judicial Center. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Commissioner Cole.
just for clarification, through the chair of the Mayor Thompson, the financial difference would be, from what I understand, the city would be willing to put back in their portion of the local option sales tax. So, is
That, plus there's the possibility of other things that we would use.
okay?
Sure.
All right. I just wanted to know, what kind of, I guess,
Well,
what kind of basis we were going on to say
Right.
it's going to cost less to the citizens. We'd still have those.
As to where it comes from, it's taxpayer dollars for the city of Milton, but it will be, and we look at it as something that will enhance our downtown, give stability to our downtown, give us the edge in planning ahead for the future, and I think create a landmark for this county and a very beautiful setting for a judicial center along the Blackwater River, viewing right across from the Memorial Park, and similar to what was presented years ago as in an original concept. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, we look forward to your numbers, and we will have numbers. Will we be able to do a full presentation Thursday, Mr. Wall?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what we'll do is when you get to those numbers, and our staff will be working with your staff and looking these numbers over.
We'll go ahead and obviously we'll go ahead and post what we've got to everybody. I'll be sure and send the city manager a copy of it, and everybody, like I said, it'll be posted on the website, but and so we can look at what that is. But yeah, we look forward to that. And
Gentlemen.
I apologize again. When you ask an architect to give you his professional opinion, they're very careful about that.
Exactly. I've been there, done that, and know where you're sitting. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you all for yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record.
Sandra Cantu, 9577 Highway 90 East, Milton. Have a few questions. How would the courthouse going up where it is right now going to be affected by the new Highway 90 route? I went to the meeting last week of that organization, the DOT, where they showed us different paths that they plan to possibly put in Highway 90. And where is it compared to where you want to put the new courthouse downtown?
Commissioner Cole, can you handle one of those three comments right here?
Sure.
All right.
Sandra, I was also at that meeting last week, and I was kind of disappointed that Hatchmont McDonald didn't have that information prior to doing their drawings that they presented, because Federal Highways, of course, has that southern route just north of the railroad tracks as one of their, basically in the hopper of the four we've seen. And then also Paul Kilmartin has plans to build a restaurant down there. So although those properties would not be where the actual building was, our architectural firm included those properties in things like parking or stormwater retention. So I want them to be cognizant of that while they're doing their figures. And the other thing I've been able to do, several years ago, the city of Milton did a survey of different routes through downtown. And one of those routes was a southern bypass that basically connected Old Highway 90 at Pattersontown Road with Ward Basin Road at South Airport. And that, because of Florida Forever owning an island that would have to be used to put an upright to hold up the bridge, was red flagged and pulled off of the one of the possible routes. I've since gone to Federal Highway and State DOT to review that particular route, because everything else I think everybody's seen that evening does a lot of corkscrewing and twisting and turning through our historic part of our downtown that I don't think a lot of us really care for. So that's in the future talks, but that's kind of what we've seen out there, and I'm waiting to set up an appointment with them to get, to go further into reviewing that other route.
It would seem that you're going to have more definite plans from DOT to really determine where the route is going to affect all the downtown buildings and everything. Is that not true? That
would be my thoughts, that we need to coordinate all these efforts.
And when is DOT going to be willing to give you detailed plans and drawings and how,
Well, that's way down the road. This is all still in a public hearing.
That's what I'm talking about. As far down the road as that is, and now we're talking about putting a building there that may be affected by this new road, it would seem that we need to do a whole lot more planning before we even suggest where the county courthouse should be.
Our engineering group is cognizant of that now, and state and federal highway is now cognizant of our plans for the courthouse. So hopefully we'll see more coordination there.
Thank you. I've also seen a lot of times when you say, okay, this building is going to cost $20 million. Cost overruns, the building now costs $30 million. And what guarantee do the taxpayers of Santa Rosa County have that if you approve the building for so much money, that's how much it's going to cost and no more?
Yeah, please.
Let's get to we've seen that a lot in the past. And I think the last few years you've seen this board pretty much hold people's feet to the fire when it comes to the bid process. And that's all I can assure you as a citizen from one commissioner, and I believe this whole board, we're going to do just that. I mean, if there's things that are unforeseen in the past, we've had to adjust the cost on doing that on a change order. But a lot of the change orders that have come to this board in the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, we're not putting up with. And I'll assure you I won't put up with it, on this project either.
And do you expect us to hold your feet to the fire when it comes to?
Yes, ma'am.
The mayor said that the city of Milton will help pay for any, some additional costs or whatever. Unfortunately, the city of Milton also means the taxpayers in Santa Rosa County. So when he's promising money from the city of Milton, he's also promising money from me.
No, ma'am, he's not. Do you live in the city of Milton?
No, I don't.
Well, then you don't pay city taxes.
But if I buy something in the city of Milton, I'm going to pay taxes on it.
You do anyway. If
I'm
you buy
sorry?
something, if you buy something in Milton, you pay city taxes on it, but if you don't live in Milton, you won't be participating in whatever the mayor's talking about.
Sales taxes, yes, I will.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
and you will anyway if you buy things in Santa Rosa County, from
Right.
Jay to Gulf Breeze to Navarre.
So again, his promising money from somewhere else actually comes from us. And that's the point I want to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with a comment? Yes, sir. Mr. Fortune, just, oh, well, ladies first, Ms. Holly. Mr. Fortune, if you would, please get in line with those other folks. You have to turn the light on, Chris. Push, there you go. Now,
Sorry. Okay, thank you. I am Chris Hawley. My address is 5920 Willard Norris Road. And I would like to read some excerpts from a letter I wrote to the editor about this issue. And a couple of paragraphs were left off, so I'm going to speak to them about it. Perhaps it was for space limitations, I do not know. But anyway, I've been a proponent of the courthouse in downtown Milton since day one. I've just never written about it. So please, here are some excerpts. Having just read the position paper by the task force previously mentioned, I'm convinced it confirms my opinion that this will become a reality if the powers that be quit hashing it over and get on with it. I say let's work together to complete a totally functional edifice, an asset of which all of us can be proud. Parking will be no problem. I said until kingdom come, parking will be tough anywhere and everywhere. We've always overcome, though aggravated occasionally, and been content in whatever state we found ourselves. Patience is a virtue. It is also a fruit of the Spirit, and I think you all are Christians, so you know what I'm talking about the Spirit. Anyway, speaking of the Spirit, all involved in completing the project need to be reminded if they're having difficulty, they need to ask God for wisdom to how to do it. He gives liberally to all who acknowledge the one mightier than man. God is willing and able to help all who lean not to their own understanding, who recognize their limitations while desiring to execute their God-given gifts and abilities to handle the crises of life. Now, this courthouse issue has been kicked around for years. It is solvable despite minor differences among all involved. While volunteering at Scratch Ankle this year, I obtained a schematic whose feasibility impressed me. Building an elevated courthouse would appease those concerned about flooding. And I want to thank the mayor for appointing the special research committee, which I think did a great job. So I'm here to emphasize that we do need a courthouse, it's agreed. I say in downtown Milton, mainly because it is the county seat, period. And so I want to say, no more committees, no more studies. Only action now, please. God bless you all as you leave this thing on the ballot for vote.
thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Mr. Fortune.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, I'm Ed Fortune, 4971 Chumuckla Highway, Pace, Florida. I didn't come prepared this morning with a written text, but I do have a great interest in the process that we're going through, and it's been a long one, and it's time that we complete that and finish the work that we begun many years ago. I have some suggestions I'd like to make to you, though. Number one, we have spent lots of money in the past for this to get this completed, and they're still on the payroll today. we need to finish, and we need to be specific in what we're doing so that people will have confidence in us that we're going to complete the Judiciary Center. I have never been that concerned about the site. My concern has been with the revenue, where the money is coming from and how much. And I believe that's the main issue with the public. You've made, I think, the correct decision in the past, and you've also made it presently, that the best source is in the sales tax rather than property taxes. That's the two major sources of revenue that we have in a county for capital outlay and for operation. When you fail to not pay, the citizens not pass the sales tax, the only recourse, or the major recourse, is back to property taxes. And I am opposed to increasing property taxes for that purpose. So therefore, I commend you for your decision to continue on the pathway of the sales tax issue for the revenue to fund this project. Now, I do differ with the need of how we go. I believe in the future. I don't like to dwell on the past, but I enjoy talking about the future. And I think we've been discovered in Santa Rosa County or in West Florida. I remember when I ran for office in 1966 for the legislature, the population of this county was 35,000 people. Today, we're fast approaching 200,000. And it tells me that our county has been discovered. People are coming, and we need to protect what we have, the history of our county and our area, to share with the rest of the country that what we have to enjoy in the quality of life that's here in Santa Rosa County. I believe the best way to approach that is by working together. Now, in my opinion, there's a lot we need to do for the future. I don't think we need 15 or 20 acres of property to build just a judiciary center. I believe we can use what we have without purchasing additional properties, and I believe we can do it we need to do it, and this is what the public wants. They want to make sure the dollars are spent wisely and not an overexpense of building a Taj Mahal. I believe the engineer has stated previously that the present location will accommodate the needs, not only today, but for the future. But there is going to be additional needs, and I support the local area, and we got to, because it's coming. The south end of the county is growing so fast. The next project must be in Gulf Breeze or Navarre in the south end of the county. I don't care, you build a Taj Mahal here in Santa Rosa County. The need is going to be also in the south end of the county. And these service centers, as I call them, serves a useful purpose. We don't have everybody coming to one area in the county. Let's bring the services to the people back where they are. That's part of, I think, is efficiency in government serving the public of our county. And we need those service centers will accommodate the citizens of our county. And it's a good example of what the city has done. I have before me their master plan. They didn't stop at the city limits. They went from Baghdad to Carpenter's Park, utilizing a walkway and the use for the citizens to enjoy Blackwater River. The restaurant that we hear talking about going behind the south end of the courthouse would be on the riverfront. It's not going to be directly behind the river. The city has purchased property in that area there, and that's where they need to be. In their master plan, they talk about the future of motels and the further development of downtown within the city of Milton. But this affects all the county. It doesn't just affect Milton. So working together, as you have with them in Baghdad and other parts of the counties, we can accomplish this, and it would be a benefit for every citizen in our county. And that's the position that I take, and why I believe it would be best here in this area to retain the present location and the addition of the property that had, and I believe about 7 acres. And that should support us with the use of the administrative facilities, or at least the service centers throughout the state, or throughout the county rather, would be of great benefit and a better interest for the citizens of our county. So that's my position, and I support it. And I supported the sales tax last time because that's the best source of revenue. I will report it again. But I don't want to travel the same path that we've traveled in the past, because we've lost, and it should be evidence to us that we need to do a little different. And that be specific on the language that we have on the ballot. We sunset the sales tax at the appropriate time, and if we can have the city willing to participate, and I've met with the city, several meetings on just with what they've done in the master plans. And my hope, and I've stated this to several of you, I hope that the county will come forth for the future in developing a master plan, so the citizens of our county will know what we expect will happen for the future of Santa Rosa County. And I would say let's join with the city and develop a plan that will meet the needs of the citizens of our state, of our county for the future. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Fortune. Appreciate your comments. Ed and I have had this conversation a couple of times, and you look to Okaloosa County as what Santa Rosa County is going to look like. They're outgrowing us. They got this spurt earlier than we got it, and they retained their traditional courthouse in Crestview with a large satellite office in the south end, because that's where, Fort Walton and all that intense development is, and it's not very far off that very same model is going to be required for Santa Rosa County, because the Navarre, Gulf Breeze area, that entire peninsula is growing and will continue to grow, and it's going to need that service. It just really is. But we have others lined up. So thank you very much for your comments, Mr.
One
Young.
thing, I think
Yes,
ours is a little different than Okaloosa County, because we've got some resources here that they don't have. We've got Blackwater River, and the city willing and able to develop that for us, and I think it will improve. It will not take away from.
My comments were intended really to be addressing specifically the judicial side of it. Yeah, they don't have anything close to what we have here in Milton. Mr. Young? Thank you, sir.
Jim Young, 5049 Basin Avenue. And for a man that came with no prepared comments, Representative Fortune did a heck of a presentation. I do not possess those talents, and this came to me as I came for a presentation on the agenda. It's not ready. I accept that. I have no problem with that. But I just want to make a few comments about the process and the speed at which this process, or it seems to me that it's traveling at a little bit of a slow rate. And what I think is the missing factor in this is that the stakeholders, the public, it's a tough subject, don't get me wrong, but the flow of information, and rightfully so, is coming from the public on their input to the Board of County Commissioners. The commissioners have retained HOK as a consultant, world-renowned, largest architectural firm in the world, highly talented individuals with specificity in every area. I think I've observed that when I reviewed the overheads that were going to be presented this morning, which I had to blow up to something big because my eyes don't read that small print. I saw some what I would consider inaccuracies or outdated information. And then there is new information. I I would make a respectfully request that to make this process as expeditious as possible and accurate, that the stakeholders and the public, I can envision, just like the presentation that the city made this morning, the mayor and Ed Fortune, that information's coming to you. If that information not only came to you, but they had an appointed person with HOK, so that information is coming directly to HOK for their consideration immediately, as it may or may not work into their scope of work. I found some inadequacy, old information on the presentation that was going to be made this morning that should have been updated in the process. And that flow of information, and I'm not talking about the politics ends of it, I'm just talking about factual information, participation by the city and theirs. If that has a way to go directly, not only to you, but also directly to HOK and their presentation, and leave it up to those consultants to glean from that information what's pertinent for their scope of work, I think it would move on. Number one, nothing gets lost in translation. Number two, I think it gives HOK timely information. Some of the issues that Commissioner Cole talked about possible roads, possible this, possible that might influence HOK's report on the downtown site. Those guys are the professionals. They can determine whether that information is pertinent to their scope of work of presenting you with the best numbers, the best design, and the basic information on the 3 proposed sites as it stands today. I just see a misconnect between the stakeholders and directly to HOK, and that seems to be slowing down this process. That's just my observation. My recommendation is if HOK had a person assigned for each one of these 3 locations where stakeholders could go speak to them directly and let HOK in their professional manner glean from that what they think is pertinent information or not pertinent information, I think this process would not only move a little quicker, but it would move more accurately. And that's a general issue with a specific solution. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Wallace Mahout, 5500 Cox Road, Milton, Florida. I just wanted to make sure the figures that were given this morning do not include land purchase price.
They do
Is that
not.
correct?
They
Okay.
do not.
So the Caldwell Banker site would cost an additional $1.5 million, and I hope that's brought forward on Thursday or when all the information is to be presented. I think I have to agree with Mr. Young. If there are inaccurate facts in these reports, if he knows what they are, maybe he should get together with the commissioners and let them know what he thinks they are, so that can be corrected. As far as the downtown site, I would say the stakeholders, taxpayers, need to know exactly what that's going to cost, because some of the land that they talked about is owned by the city of Milton. And then there is a parcel that is privately owned, and Mr. Cole, you said they are not willing to sell that property. So all of those facts have to be in line so everyone knows, can that courthouse fit in that location and have some room for expansion downtown. One other thing I always asked was, it's going to have a retention pond, and that retention pond is going to have to be treated. And will the DEP have to be involved because it's so close to the river? 100 years ago, it probably didn't matter, but these days, you have a lot of regulations with stormwater issues. So we need to know that cost so that when these things are on the ballot, the voters are aware of every single thing and what that total cost is going to be, and they can make their own choice. All the facts have to be presented, because if it ends up that the voters vote for the downtown location, and during the building process you say, well, oops, we found out about that holding pond, and now the DEP is involved, and it's going to cost about $2 million more. And the ongoing treatment of that water will cost for the future. So everybody needs to know all the facts beforehand. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Melissa Williams. My address is 5190 Saddle Creek Trail, Milton, Florida. Good morning, gentlemen. I thank you for your careful consideration of this issue. I believe it is vitally important that the courthouse remains in its current location downtown. I know there are many factors to consider, like costs and accessibility. The numbers stated earlier show us that the courthouse downtown seems to be the most feasible. I know saving taxpayer money is a priority, as well it should be. However, in all the facts and figures and bottom lines, I hope you will not lose sight of the valuable symbolic role the courthouse plays for our community. Milton is our county seat. That's why the courthouse is located here. That distinction should not be diminished by moving the courthouse elsewhere. The downtown area of Milton is the heart and soul of our community. It's where our history is preserved in buildings like the Imogene Theater. When this wonderful building was under threat and damaged by disaster, people in this community rallied to save it, and they saved it in its current historical location. Can we imagine moving it somewhere else? Likewise, when the excellent idea for a Veterans Memorial was put forth, people in this community worked hard to make that happen. And where is it located? In the downtown. Can we imagine that lovely and honorable memorial anywhere else? The River Walk hosts the events where our community gathers with family and friends. Can we imagine it on the other side of the river? As I said before, the downtown of Milton is the heart and soul of our community. It's where we gather, and it's where our history and traditions are preserved. The courthouse is a valuable and meaningful part of that community history and tradition, and I can't imagine it anywhere else. We need to keep the courthouse location in downtown, and we need to make sure that stays on the ballot, and I trust your leadership in this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. Brad Johnson, 5664 Heatherton Road, Milton, Florida, 32570. Before I begin, Commissioner Williamson, congratulations. First time I've seen you since your appointment, and I think you're appropriately filling that seat. So I wanted to address a couple of different issues that, as you know, I co-chaired the task force for the city of Milton. And a couple of things that have been brought up, some by Mr. Young, as far as a point person for city of Milton. I don't know whether or not HOK has reticence to communicate directly with the city because maybe they view them as an interested party. I'm not sure what the problem is. I do know that there have been attempts by the city or representatives of the city to contact HOK to obtain information and be willing to provide information. But as we see the report that was provided, certain things obviously are lacking in that report. Potable water line system locations, for instance. If you look down there, it has the information for both Site 1 and Site 2, but the downtown Milton site says unknown. That's a 2-minute phone call, honestly, to find that information out. I found it out fairly quickly. It's those kinds of things that aren't being done, and I don't know if maybe some direction from the commission to HOK to say, look, there's no problem with discussing issues or questions that you have directly with the city of Milton might be helpful in that regard, but it might help to obtain some additional information. Also, the city obviously has information about what its plan is going on for downtown and what the planned usage is. Also, I would mention that the Site 3 proposal that is there, as I recall, HOK also suggested there might be some of that use on the very south end of land might not be required to be obtained. There is an alternative way of doing a pond on property that is actually owned by the city between Willing Street and Blackwater River. There's an alternative there. That's not included in this proposal, but that's that would require less acquisition of property and actually might affect the overall cost of the project. I noticed next on the agenda is the issue with regard to the proposed ordinance. But I would mention that I'm hopeful that when there is final determination is made as to what is put onto the ballot is taken into consideration, that we get something that takes into account the total cost after input from, because again, we're looking at total cost for the county. I do disagree. The statement was made earlier that, hey, we're paying for this even if we don't live in the city, if the city's making contributions. It's not accurate. That's a decision for the individuals living in the city of Milton to make. If they're in support of that, their city council is in support of that, they want to contribute funds to the betterment of the county, that's a decision for the people who live within the city limits. I'm not one of them any longer, but that is a decision for the city, and I would disagree with those comments. But I think that when we look at the final ordinance language and we talk about ultimate costs, we have to make sure we look at all of the costs. For instance, the city may be willing to make contributions. I certainly don't speak for the city council, but ideas that have batted around are things like impact fees. These numbers that have been mentioned, and if I wrote them down correctly, it looks like downtown Milton's, in terms of cost, not including land acquisition, but was the cheapest. 1.56 million is what I wrote down, as opposed to Pace at 2.1 million and the East Milton property at 2.89 million. That doesn't take into consideration, as I heard it, and again, we haven't seen those numbers because they just came in this morning, but as I understand, that does not include impact fees. Is that correct, Mr. Walker?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so impact fees. Well, impact fees, as we all know, for the ones that involve the city of Milton, it's possible that's something that might be able to be waived. I don't think you're going to be able to have that happen in Pace. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to have that happen in East Milton, at least not on a full scale. So those are different factors and costs that will bring that ultimate cost to the taxpayer, the county taxpayer, down. And I hope that the ultimate ballot resolution, whenever it has that, it has a bottom line number, not just a total project cost, but what is it going to cost the taxpayer who's voting on this? I have some other comments that go to that ordinance language. I'm going to hold those off until you discuss that. I do have some suggestions in that regard involving, at this point, we have 3 potential locations, and there's some things I would like to discuss with the commission about that. I think that, as I understand it, there's not going to be any decision made regarding the downtown location or any of the locations this morning as far as ballot, simply because of the limited time available to have reviewed the documentation provided. Is my understanding correct?
The general format is that Monday is always committee day, and it is devoted to this purpose right here. And then Thursday is devoted to disposition or to refer it back to the staff for more committee work, for more staff work. So today is just general staff it up. You know.
Right. And I guess my question is, on the agenda for Thursday, if there is one, do we know yet whether there's any proposed issue with regard to downtown Milton, or is there some action intended to be taken at that time, or is that something that may come up at the meeting?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Again, we got those numbers at 8:30 this morning.
I understand. And
I understand that the city wanted to see the numbers last week. I wanted to see the numbers last week. All God's children wanted to see the numbers last week.
Understood.
Again, we got them when we got them, and we'll make them available to everybody. And I think because we've got to understand what these costs include, what they don't include, what the assumptions are on the different buildings. Because I think absolutely getting to the total cost of each site is obviously what everybody's trying to get to.
And I understand. One of my concerns, obviously, is that we have numbers based upon a report that has a lot of things listed as unknown that may or may not affect the cost that's listed on those numbers. I don't know, but they're not unknown. They may be unknown to HOK, but they're not unknown to the city. They're not unknown, I mean, so will that change? Will that affect the numbers? We don't know.
But again, I think that's where you're going to have to look at the numbers, the city's going to have to look at the numbers, we're going to have to look at the numbers. So yeah, my I don't know that there's going to be anything that the board will be able to deal with by Thursday. I mean, I think there needs to be a great deal of look. What are the impact fees? How much is the extra property going to cost? What are the other costs that you're going to be able to determine? I don't know that those answers are going to be available by Thursday, in my judgment.
Understood.
You need to see it, and then where there are where there's additional information, we'd love to have it. I mean, that's what we need.
Absolutely. I have one other question. I know, Commissioner Cole, you have mentioned that you spoke to somebody who is not, one of the, I guess, a property owner that is involved in this, that doesn't intend to sell at any price. Would you be so kind as letting us know who that is? I'm not sure. Usually when people say that, that's not always the case, to be quite honest with you.
I don't have their name right here before me. However, the city does have a agreement with that couple, and they're from Alabama. We should be able to obtain that through Sharon Hawley because the agreement is that the city and the county can use that property for parking and overflow during our events, provided we do the mowing and keep it insured. So I'm sure their contact information is on file with the city.
Okay. And then my next question, if you didn't have the name, which property parcel are we talking about? And I think you've cleared that up. It's basically directly behind the portable buildings because it's used for overflow parking.
Farther down, it's just to the north
Towards
side.
the south end of that.
North side of Pine Street.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, it's the property just north of Pine Street, just east of the family Counts property.
All right.
I understand generally the area where Blackwater Bistro parks.
No. This is the grass area where everybody gets stuck in the ditch.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Williamson.
I spoke with the county administrator last week because it concerned me that there are actually 5 parcels of land, I believe, that are going to have to be purchased to go with the plan that they've given us. Can you give a little bit of an update of what the process is, or have we heard back? Because, I mean, to me, the proper channel is the county. You as the administrator, we need to find out if they're willing to sell, for one thing, and then B, if they are, what's the price?
Is the attorney's started to contact each of the 5 property owners. We've also to try to determine some kind of availability and price. Obviously, were the board to decide to do this, you always have the option of eminent domain. I think one of the parcels is owned by the railroad, by CSX, so I expect that to get a price back on that's going to be some problematic. Again, we've asked the property appraiser and his staff, and they're appraisers, so we've asked them to at least give us some kind of estimate of what those values are. So yeah, we're trying to determine what
the appraised value on those lots, the appraised value listed on the site, which we all know is not necessarily a real value, but it's an appraised value, is less than $250,000 total.
And that would be my expectation.
But the appraisers down there are working on a fair market value appraisal for us, not just what's listed on the
Understood. And I will tell you that one of the lots that, based on recent, I mean, these are factors that go into play in HOK. One of the lots that may be able to be non-used, it's to the south side of Pine Street, and it would be a holding pond area. If the HOK's other proposal, which was using 2 lots that are currently owned by the city, pretty sure the city would be willing to work with you on that issue, would be utilized, you would not need one of those lots on the south side of Pine Street. And my understanding is it's probably one of the higher end lots in terms of cost. So those are all factors that we're aware of. We're happy to make the board aware of them and HOK aware of them if they'll just be willing to communicate with us.
Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. If I might. I agree with the timely information on getting the HOK, getting with the city. I believe it should all be vetted through the county, and I'd like to see the county maybe assign this to one of our engineers to be a direct contact to run those questions. I can understand where HOK doesn't need influx from dozens of people, because if we extend that courtesy to the city of Milton, do we not extend it to Mr. Young, do we not extend it to somebody else? So I'd like to see us say, okay, this is your contact person within the county directly to HOK. That'd be the first thing I'd like to do. Impact fees, you mentioned those. The city has the impact fees right now, the city of Milton. The county has a moratorium on impact fees, so they would not apply to the other two partials. Just trying to clear some things, get some things off the board, because I agree. I am very dissatisfied with the timely manner that HOK is providing the information, because we're running a clock here. We've got to get the language on the ballot. I agree 100% to look at these figures today and say, well, they didn't talk to anybody about hooking up water. They didn't talk about anybody about a road going through. They didn't talk about this. They didn't talk about that. We need from HOK a bottom line on all three pieces of property, period. What's it going to cost the citizens of Santa Rosa County to build on property A, B, and C, period, end of subject. I don't care if it's impact fees, cost of utilities, whatever it is. What's the bottom line so you and I as a citizen know what we're going to pay to build on each one of those locations? And as far as there was some conversation earlier today about maybe pulling the Milton site off there, I can assure you that at this point, this commissioner is not looking at removing any particular site, because I don't consider it at this time removal of a site off the ballot. I consider it more of a removal of your right as a citizen to vent where you want to put this piece of this $35 million investment in our community off the ballot. And I'm not taking away anybody's right to vote on this issue.
I appreciate that. If I may respond to one thing, just to clarify. With regard to HOK, my complaint isn't necessarily that HOK isn't providing the city with information. Rather, that they're not attempting to obtain the information that's readily available from the city to be able to complete their report. That's my problem.
Okay, well then I think this board needs to task our staff with placing a person in that capacity and extending that information to all necessary parties.
Send it to us. I mean, if you send us the information, obviously we'll have it. We'll send it to HOK. Any information that you see that's inaccurate, give it to us, and we'll get it to HOK. We're not, obviously our intent is to get the total cost and be able to present a balanced, all the costs for everybody, and then people can make a decision. But that's where we're trying to get.
And understood. And again, Commissioner Cole, just so that we're clear, my other comment with regard to the total cost, again, total cost of the project and total cost of the taxpayer may be two entirely different things based upon what may be able to be offered at various locations. For instance, if the city's willing to provide some financial assistance, total cost to the county taxpayer may be very different, and I hope that that's what's going to be reflected and represented to the voter whenever they vote, is the cost to the taxpayer, not the cost of the project necessarily.
When we get that data together, it'll be a completed package. We're going to strive to get the best information out there we possibly can in a timely manner. Thank you.
And like I said, I have some comments on the language. I'll reserve those for when you get to that point. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Steve.
Good morning, Steve Williams, 5190 Saddle Creek Trail, Commissioner Salter's district. I also want to add my congratulations to Jerry. You look very good in that seat. So I know we're not going to make any movement today, so if the commission will allow me, I'm really using you to get to our public, because I think this is now well within the public discussion now. I'm encouraged one of my recommendations in the end was going to be I think the public would get a strong sense of confidence. A lot of us are here because we're concerned that this ballot measure may move forward and Milton be popped off. So I was encouraged to hear Commissioner Cole's comments that he's not looking to remove that choice from the citizenry. I think that the citizenry, I would encourage them to think of this, as well as the commission, really as more than just a cost. We've heard a lot of discussion here today, and a lot of it's centered around cost. Again, I think your comment about this being an investment is spot on. This is a $35 million investment, and this will be with us for 75 years. And when we think about, as so elegant was stated earlier, when we think about where this is going, this to me is a three-part consideration. One, it centers around economic development, sense of community, and growth management. I think this is really just the beginning of a larger issue we're talking about with growth management. Mr. Fortune was right on. I applaud Mayor Thompson and what they've done in the downtown Milton area and a vision and an outlay. I really think we need the same thing for Santa Rosa County. When we put all the money out there into tourism and economic development, we're trying to drive tourism. There is no tourism to anywhere USA. Yes, we have some natural elements that are nice, but when we talk about, when Mayor talks about building the next Fairhope, yes, we need private participation to build that next Fairhope, but we also need county participation. And nothing will drive economic development on the private side like some public participation. Prior to what I do now, I used to do economic development. I did it across the country. I did it with some of the best planners in the country. I cannot think of a single one of those planners, I'm talking about a land planner, that would advise putting the county courthouse in an industrial park. That is not the best use of that land. This county has done an excellent job. It's had a great vision in acquiring that property out there in the industrial park. As we move forward with this, and I'm hoping that this will remain on the ballot, I want the citizenry as well as the county to consider. I really think the industrial park should be removed as an option. The best use of that land is to attract industry, manufacturing, etc. We use any land for that purpose. Outside of that, that's not the best use of that land. You got railheads, you got interstate. I don't need to make the case for the industrial park. That's what we got Shannon for. But I can tell you this, it's not where the courthouse belongs. The best use of the land of where a courthouse goes is like Ms. Holly said, it's in the county seat. Like we said earlier, the Memorial Park, our river walks, our 4th of July runs, people gather in a place of sense of community. I would encourage us to think of that as a sense of investment. Again, like I've said to y'all in Navarre, we don't have to go very far. We don't have to travel to McDonough and Helen, and we can go right across the street to Pensacola. There's been plenty of places that have had to struggle with parking. Parking's not a struggle. Parking's a good thing. That means you've got growth, which leads me to the second piece of the economic development. I've seen this board. I thought I didn't necessarily agree with some of the decisions in the past of how we tried to go at promoting economic development, but I understand the board's one of the concerns was promoting small business. All I see in the downtown Milton area is small businesses. I see small law firms. I see small restaurants. I see a lot of small businesses that are growing. Where rooftop grow, that's where you have houses. The other thing that we haven't talked about yet is what's going to happen to the property values, people that have made investments in that downtown area. As you see that downtown area fight to revitalize and build that so we don't have anywhere USA, the sprawl that we have on Highway 90 right now, that is sprawl. Anything other than we have to address it for what it is, unsightly sprawl. That's nothing that the economic development, that's not tourism. That's just a lack of management on our part. So I would encourage that we consider this as the tip of the iceberg. We go back and look at some of our vision planning, our growth management. Let's drive this into the downtown area. Let's rebuild that downtown area. Let's not sprawl. Let's not waste some of the great resources that we've done in the past with the industrial park. The final thing I really wanted to kind of close with is really just kind of a recommendation. I think a number of us would get a sense of confidence that there's not an intent to remove Milton from consideration, remove that as an option from the public on the ballot. I'd encourage the commission to be straightforward and transparent with us on that it will remain on the ballot. And the second one is I would recommend that HOK is here to answer a number of the questions that kind of come up in the future. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate the very conscientious and deliberate manner that you are going about this. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Yes, ma'am, Wallace.
Wallace Mahout, 5500 Cox Road, Milton, Florida. I'm not against the courthouse being located downtown as long as all the facts are provided and the voters choose that location. But I was kind of appalled to hear Mr. Hunter Walker say, well, there's always eminent domain. I would not be okay with the county taking someone's property. The courthouse downtown, okay. Using eminent domain, no way. Nobody in this room would want their property taken. Thank you.
Thank you. You need to turn the light back on, Chris. The last speaker. Touch the right-hand button. There you go. It's on now.
Technology and I just don't hit it off. I just thought of something else I put in my letter, which I agree would not be put in there. I talked to the editor, and she said, well, listen, you all know, I mean, you've been around a while, right? So there are always special interests in any situation wanting to make their mark. And so I put in my letter, if there are any special interest, always a possibility, of wooing the location of the courthouse elsewhere. I put a big fat stop it, in capital letters, so she didn't print that. I was okay with that. But several people here today have brought up the issue of the Veterans Memorial being close by, and I think that's, I don't know, how I forgot that would be, the courthouse downtown would enhance, especially the Veterans Memorial. And I was even a sponsor of one of the panels of the memorial when Ralph a while back told me that they had no sponsor for the Coast Guard panel, and I said, well, I have no connection with the courthouse. My husband was in the Air Force, my brother Air Force, my father World War I Navy, and my father-in-law World War I Army. But I did it anyway because they needed a sponsor. And I just want to add this thing as human interest. I said, God, I don't know why you want me to do this, but I'm doing it. And when I saw the Coast Guard helicopters saving those people, during the hurricanes, I said, okay, God, I know now why you wanted me to do it. But anyhow, that's a good point they brought up. It will enhance the memorial. And hey, just period. The courthouse needs to be downtown because it is the county seat. That is my opinion.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Cantu.
Sandra Cantu, 9577 Highway 90 East, Milton. $35 million is what it's going to cost. Well, that's a lot of money. I think we might need to reevaluate. The county uses a lot of satellite locations for doing various things. Is that working for people? Does it work having the offices in the south end of the county and the north end of the county to try to bring things directly to the people?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
So maybe we need to rethink this about our courthouse system. Do you have any courthouse, what do you call them?
Satellites.
The satellite where the court actually operates courtrooms. Do you have any courtrooms in the south end of the county?
No, ma'am, that's what we discussed earlier. If you were tuned in, we discussed that need probably 30, 40 minutes ago. That one of the things we need to address is the need for satellite in the south end, because that's the major growth in the county. And so, yes, that was addressed.
So if we leave the county courthouse as it is in Milton to take care of the north end of the county, maybe the best way to do it is to build some courtrooms in the south end of the county to provide closer offering to the people in Santa Rosa County in the south end. Is that not a possibility?
No, ma'am, the current site is inadequate for the central and north end, much less for the south end. It's absolutely an overload. That's why we're doing what we're doing now. This is not just some frivolous exercise in spending tax dollars. This is a badly needed project.
How many courtrooms are there in the courthouse?
I have a general idea. I don't know specifically, 3 or 4, maybe as many as 5.
So how many courtrooms would it take to provide all the courtrooms the north end needs?
That's what we hire architects and engineers for. They know how many people live in Santa Rosa County. They know what the traffic through in the front door of the courthouse is, and they take all those numbers and then they run them through a computer model, and it comes up with the size courthouse you need for the traffic you're experiencing, and that's how we got where we are right now.
But I would hope that you as county commissioners would have some idea of how many courtrooms you need for the judges. Do you not?
What we know is that We don't know all those answers. Those are legal questions, and but we know who does have, and that's why we hire professionals. That's why we don't try to do it ourselves. That's what you use professionals for.
So you're telling me that the county commissioners have no idea how many courtrooms you need for the north and the south end of the county?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The needs assessment that we had prepared did delineate exactly how many courtrooms that we would need going forward. There were two large, is that right, or 3 large courtrooms?
Right, and I believe there were a total of 8 are envisioned in the programming that we're currently considering. I think currently they have 4 courtrooms now. Quite frankly, is we have visited the concept of decentralizing the court function. That's very costly. You have to have security at each place. You have to have clerks at each place. It's inefficient. The most efficient way to deal with a court facility is in one location, in one place, and that's all that's going to be there. The current functions that are dispersed now are administrative functions, including the property appraiser, the tax collector, the number of administrative functions as opposed to judicial. And the programming's all been done. That's why you have to do that before you can determine what the size and scale of the building is. And there've been input from the judges, the sheriff, and all the other people involved. So that's where we got to. That's included in what the size of the building that's currently programmed.
So you have no court.
Excuse me, Commissioner Williamson.
I'll wait till she's done, but I do want to speak on something when
All
she's
right,
done.
So you have no courtrooms in the south end of the county?
That's correct.
Okay. And you don't know how many courtrooms it would take to handle the south end of the county?
It'll take 8. It currently will take 8 with growth to handle all the county.
Okay. So you don't know how many just for the south end of the county? Half of that?
Yeah, I don't even know how you would even work to some kind of math towards that without the input.
How many judges do you have?
We currently have 5, counting the 2 county judges and 3 circuit judges.
And they all operate in the south end of the county?
No, ma'am. They all operate in the Santa Rosa County Courthouse.
Okay. Okay.
And I would envision they'll continue to operate there.
So the satellite operating the courtrooms on a satellite situation doesn't work the way it would for the other offices that you have?
Again, primarily because of the security. You've got to have security at each site. You've got to have the magnometers. You also have to have the clerk support and the other ancillary staff that goes with it. It's not just the judge.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple questions and a couple comments. This one would probably be for the county administrator. Have they assured us that they are going to come with a detailed cost estimate on Thursday?
Again, you've got the cost estimate that they provided primarily for it looks like the site work and that portion of it. This does not include anything with the buildings. I don't know that, again, if you're talking about the dealing with issues about the water and sewer impact fees from the individual utilities, if you're talking about some kind of arrangement that the city would pick up whatever other cost associated with property acquisition there would be. I don't know that that can all be determined by Thursday. I believe that we should be, I'm hesitant to commit HOK to those numbers by Thursday based on what we've really not sat down and looked at it because it came in so late this morning. Or early this morning.
And I understand rushing them, which we don't want to do because we want to have a true estimate, but also we're rushing ourselves because if they came Thursday to the meeting with a itemized or more detailed cost estimate, that leaves us 4 meetings before we have to have ballot language written. Is that correct? August 29th is when we have to have it to the supervisor of elections. So time's ticking on this project, and there's 2 things that happen if we have to rush the ballot language. A, we're going to make a mistake. because we're rushing ourselves to try to get this right, and we're going to miss something. And B, anytime government tries to rush something at the last minute, it's perceived in the public that something is going on, and perception is going to be a major part of us getting the new courthouse. So I think we need to hold their feet to the fire, and, you know, I know we want them to do a detailed and a good job, but they got to start getting us some numbers so we can start making decisions.
And I appreciate that. I also need to understand that when we started with the one site, and that was what we had worked with HOK on. Then we went through the process of trying to differentiate the East Milton sites, whether it was the industrial park, as the gentleman had mentioned, the Byram property near I-10. HOK was involved with some of the cost estimates in determining those sites as we're trying to narrow down, and then probably a month, 6 weeks, 2 months ago, the downtown site reemerged, and then they've had to go back and try to design and at least approximate some kind of cost on that piece of property. So what we've asked them to do is a considerable amount of work for one courthouse. And Mr. Cole's right, Ms. Cantu, shocked by the cost. That's what it's going to be. So I mean, we're pushing them, and we'll push them to get the numbers, but as we always say, I'd rather be right than we're better accurate than fast. And so somehow we're going to have to work through that. I mean, I understand your frustration, but this has been a long process. We've had public meetings. We've scheduled South End meetings. The whole process has been elongated more than it would have normally been. This is to put 3 sites on the ballot is going to be very complex, and trying to make sure that everybody understands the numbers specifically and what they mean or don't mean. And everybody's got an interest. Some people have an interest in being in each site. So I mean, we're trying to get as dispassionate and accurate of numbers from HOK as we can.
Thank you very much. And the thing is, I agree. We need to have them come with the best number they can. We also need to make sure that the members of this board are able to come up with the best ballot language possible to take it to the public, for the public to be able to get a new courthouse. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sullivan.
Just for clarification, and Mr. Walker hit it on the head, when you go back and look at when we first started this process, we basically have asked HOK to evaluate about 12 different sites. In the beginning, we had 5 out on the west side, then we included East Milton, then we included the industrial park. Now we're downtown. So let's don't beat them up too much, because we kept changing our mind and asking them to do more as we went through this whole process. Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything they want to say before we move on?
Matthew Hargraves, 7074 Milton Court, Milton. Just very briefly on this topic, I want to acknowledge and agree with what Commissioner Salter just said, that there has been a whole lot of information to process. We understand, and a lot of people came here today expecting HOK to have a presentation. We understand the realities of, when the rubber hits the road, sometimes, you just don't have the documentation prepared when it needs to be. But I think some of us are also aware that there does need to be better communication from HOK. A couple of people have pointed out that some of the information they provided to the county that was prepared in advance of today was just simply either incomplete or not correct. And those are things that the city can help with, but they don't necessarily know. And when the city is met with stonewalling from HOK as far as a free flow of communication and information, and that really detracts from the process. And so it was mentioned earlier that there be one designated liaison person. I think that's a great idea. Free flow of information is going to help this process, not hinder it. And so I would strongly suggest to the county commissioners that you consider going ahead and designating somebody that can actually facilitate that communication from HOK and at least the city of Milton as they're involved as a municipality in trying to work with the county on this.
And in defense of HOK, they have their client in mind, and that's this board, and they won't take input from outside the client, and so you have to understand that. And I'm sure that Mr. Walker will take care of that interface before the sun sets on this day. So But don't beat them up too bad about that. They're working for their client, which you wouldn't expect.
Understanding that,
Yeah.
Commissioner Melvin, and that's why I think the idea of having a county liaison contact point is such a good idea, and I would strongly urge the commission
And
to consider that.
I think we fixed that one already.
You can send that to me. I mean, anything that you've got some concerns about or need to get to HOK, I'm happy to do that. That's my role. Anything the city, any specific information they've gotten, we'd be glad to get to HOK. But I don't think Mr. Chairman Melvin's absolutely right. They're not going to release information that we've not seen, that the board's not seen, and it's going to be seen as favoring either the city or any of the other sites. I mean, their interest involved with each one, I assume, and so. But any misinformation or anything that they think will clarify the information that HOK currently has, get it to me, and then we'll deal with it.
Mr. Walker, I agree with that, and what I was more concerned with was information that could have been obtained by HOK with a simple phone call that was not. Like I'm saying, the city doesn't necessarily know what information HOK needs, so for them to ask and obtain information is a simple matter, and why it wasn't done is the concern I had, so that's why I was addressing the point of having a liaison.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, I'm going to move item number 1, this judicial facility site, to Thursday for further discussion. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Let's take 10 minutes and be back in place at 10:37, please.
That's why the city's not.
Please find your way back to your seats. Okay, we're still in the administrative committee. We have disposed of number 1. We've moved that to Thursday without objection. Item number 2 is discussion of a proposed ordinance regarding the local government infrastructure sales tax for construction of the judicial facility. Ms. Jones, would you brief this one for us, please, ma'am?
I'll be glad to. The action for you to consider today is actually authorizing staff to proceed with advertising and setting this thing for a public hearing. All ordinances have to be set for public hearing, and this just authorizes staff to go forward with that process. So today would not be the actual public hearing on the ordinance, just authorizing us to set that, which will come up at your next set of meetings.
Okay, so we'll hold the discussion on this method of paying for it till the next set of meetings. What we're doing here is authorizing the advertising of the ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, you've got it exactly right. Included in the same material was a very, very simple resolution for you to discuss the sites.
Okay.
And again, I think you would discuss all of that at the same time. The ordinance, of course, will be the subject of the public hearing.
All right, I recommend we move item number 2, discussion of proposed ordinance regarding local government infrastructure sales tax for construction of judicial facility to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 3 is discussion of construction of permanent restroom facilities at Navarre Park. Mr. Walker.
Mr. Chairman, in your packet is the information from me regarding the Navarre Park, and it's one of the most highly used parks in the county, if not certainly the most highly used passive park, for lack of a better word, where there's no programming. And really, we've used, I think it's 6 portable facilities there for the last number of years. When we constructed the Vista Information Center, maybe in the 2004-2005 time frame, we just demolished some old restrooms that had been there for a number of years. We had placed some restrooms on the outside, if you will, of the Vista Information Center. There's just such an amount of abuse, we had to close that off. So we really just need restroom facilities at the Vista Information Center. I've got a meeting, as I noted, set up with Hernandez Calhoun, who was the group who was the architects that actually designed and oversaw the construction for the Vista Information Center. I'd just like to get a proposal from them on what it would take to construct facilities there. It's really our front door, if you will, to Navarre Beach, to the entire community. And so it needs to match the Vista Information Center. I don't know if you would put it at the same elevation. There's just a number of issues. Do you put it at the same elevation? Do you try to just place it, and it needs to be durable, and public restroom facilities are used and abused as you can only imagine. So it needs to really be serviceable, and we need to talk about the placement of it. I believe the only room available is the placement to the west of the current Vista Information Center, but we'd like to sit there and talk to the architect about that. So if I could, I hope to bring back a proposal on Thursday from Hernandez Calhoun to move forward with that particular process. I'm sure people here in Mark tell you how much it's used, but it's used a great deal.
My name is Ira Mae Bruce. I'm 7189 Wells Avenue in Holly, Florida. Commissioner Melvin, the reason that I brought this forward, I know you've been working on this, but since you're going to be a commissioner in another district, wherever it may be, we hope that we could at least get the money set aside from the district funds for District 4's funds so that we could go forward. And we've been doing some studies on the restrooms. Now what they do is close them at 6 o'clock, the ones that, or 5 o'clock when the TDC leaves the building, they're closed. But we have children and families that are playing in the park until dark. some of the suggestions, some of the things I've found on the internet was that some of the people that need things closed at a certain time, they use a security service that can automatically lock the doors from wherever they are. And whatever we do, I don't know that we've had a lot of problems with the restrooms that are right there in front of the visitor center, but I do know many years ago we had lots of problems with activities that children or adults didn't need to be involved in. So that's what we're hoping today is we can get, while you're still our District 4 Commissioner, we can get the money aside.
That's what we're teeing up right now
Yeah.
to make happen. We had a group of volunteers, Vicki Shelton and her sister Lori and some other people were volunteering, and then we've got another group volunteering. This is something that's been needed for 10 years or more, and we'll make it happen. We'll set the money aside and get it teed up. What we don't need, we need one set of plans, so it needs to be the county-driven plan, and just for those that may not have heard, we're imposing on the local businesses terribly portalet is an emergency option only. I mean, it's an absolute last resort. And what's happening is that the public is imposing on the smokehouse and TC's front porch and anywhere else they can to use a restroom. And it's grossly unfair, to the point that Mr. Dabney, James Dabney, that owns the smokehouse, approached me and said that he thought he could put together a volunteer effort whereby the contractors volunteered their time and the county bought the materials and stuff. So if that materializes, we can still use that offer on the plans that the county will prepare. Right. But if not, we're going to go ahead and build it. We're going to put the bathroom facilities in Navarre that are needed. There's some discussion from the TDC. Matter of fact, they passed a resolution to bring something to us, I guess at the next set of meetings, to close off the access, the overhead access. You remember when you were sitting in this chair probably how terribly the Visitor Information Center was vandalized by people going in the men's restroom through the tiles over, there's not a fire break wall there, and then gained access to the interior of the building and vandalized the whole thing apparently. So they passed a resolution that will make its way up here to us to seal that off, to firewall that off, and to perhaps look at some alarming for the main tourist development center. But those are ancillary items. We're absolutely going to make this happen. The county will prepare the plans, and we'll fund it from District 4, either through paying for the materials if Mr. Dabney is able to successfully secure the volunteer construction, like the kids' house was built that way.
Yeah.
The kids' house was built that way. So perhaps we can make that work, but if we can't, we're going to build them anyway.
Well, good. I'm particularly concerned
Yes,
also about the being able to automatically lock the restrooms.
Yes, I understand.
And that's and unlock them, because I was not involved when they actually built the building.
Okay.
But I was involved when we put the restrooms out front, so
Right.
that the public could use them, and now we're cutting the public off from the use of the restrooms. And I just heard last week of the problem with somebody climbing over. So,
apparently
and I was also told that had been fixed. Maybe they just told you, and you knew you were going to fix it. So I don't know, but it'd be quite a job to climb up. Those ceilings are like 12, 14 feet high.
I know. Well, they got it done.
Somebody had to work hard.
They got it done somehow. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
just, I know everybody would like to have it done, and when you're leaving our district, so we would like to have the money set aside so we don't have to explain it to somebody else.
I don't think there's any opposition from any of the 6 or 7 candidates in that race, to this particular project. And the business community deserves a relief, frankly, because we're imposing on them.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
for those of you that don't know, Thursday night in the summertime in Navarre at the park easy to say 200 or 300 people is no
We had
exaggeration.
900 the
Okay.
4th of July weekend.
I mean, we're not talking
900.
about small crowds. We're
Yeah.
talking about very large crowds.
And I don't know how they do it in Pace. I know they built some nice restrooms there. I don't know what they do. They may not have the same type park we have. Ours is
And
more
I don't think
family.
we have the same crowd. I don't know about.
You're talking about the city of Milton when they do the concerts?
No, we're talking
No,
about
the
Navarre having.
the Pace Park.
I know.
Sorry, man, we really don't have we don't have another park that
Oh, so-
rivals the Navarre. Navarre
There's
Park,
nothing
not
like
in this
the
particular
Navarre's
use.
Park, okay. Well, it's
I mean-
nice being special.
Well, listen, I mean, it's a gorgeous park, and it's right there. I mean, it's really the by far the most used passive park. And the Pace facilities are programmed. The one difference would be the Benny Russell, which is a playground area. It still does not get the extensive amount of use kind of after hours. And usually those people are a little more supervised. They're really more toddlers. I say toddlers, younger kids that we have the facilities there. And we have a deputy there that's on site with a caretaker.
And that's what we don't have. That's the other suggestion that's been made. I think we have a deputy that lives on Navarre Beach. If that, he might possibly be, I don't know if he works his regular routes or not, but maybe that would be an option to try to.
Take a look at that. The one that you're referring to that lives there, I think that's a rent-free situation that benefits both us and that.
Right,
particular
well, I
family.
understand
Yeah.
that. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I just thought that if he's, I don't know if he has his actual rotation with the sheriff's department too.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't, maybe he would have the opportunity to do that,
Yeah.
to help with that, so.
Yeah, I'll ask Sheriff Hall about that.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
Morning. I'm Sandra Horton. I live at 1852 Falling Leaves Court, Navarre. I'm not here speaking for myself today as much as I am. We have a new action group, a fact-based action group in Navarre called Navarre Area Voices for Progress. And I am the representative from them. We have around 154 members now. We are new, and we keep to hope to grow. We're trying to work with UPA, we're working with other Navarre organizations, other county organizations. So we're trying to get a voice and working with the county, trying to better Navarre. One of the issues, obviously, is the porta potties. We've tried a couple times to work with you all and some of the representatives. We've talked, and you've been kind enough to explain the process, which is a painful process sometimes. And what we need to do, what you all need. My concern as the group, I hate to see where some things we want are out of reach. I guess we got turned down recently for some grant stuff because maybe we asked for too much. I want to make sure we work with you all on what you need from us as a group or other groups to, okay, if this one is out of budget or out of realistic goal, what is our next step? Or what are steps that we can do to make sure, our concern is this doesn't get shelved, okay? I know you all say it's a goal. We would love to go back to our group. We'd love to go back and tell people in Navarre, there's a goal set maybe by next summer or next spring that the county is going to go out for bids. The county is going to get this done for us. Or if they can't afford to get it done, what local project, where does the local community need to come in and find labor, find materials? And I appreciate what you're saying, that you all have it on the scope, but is there something more concrete we can bank on?
This tees that off. This authorizes the administrator to begin to work with the architect to put those things together to get us a final cost. And I've made the commitment that we'll build it. Now, Mr. Dabney is successful in finding contractors to do for us the way the kids' house was done. Mr. Ed Carson, his personal friend of mine, built a $1.5 million thing. They paid his payroll and bought the materials, and zip, that was all he did. And he did the permitting and the contracts, the whole 9 yards. We could find somebody civic minded like that would help us with the park VAR, we'll do it that way, but otherwise we'll do it the other way, but we'll get it done.
Okay, do you think it'd be safe to say by maybe next spring or next summer, or?
I would hope so, but I don't want to get pinned down to that. Mr. Walker, do you have a better feel for that?
Again, I think that once we receive a proposal from the architectural firm on, hopefully by Thursday, is then you can probably, figure, if you figured, 3 or 4 months for design, month or two for bidding and awarding, and then I would think this would be fairly simple construction, another 6 months on, probably 4 months, just off the top of my head. So, I mean, again, this certainly should be, obviously we'd like to try to get it done before we open the splash pad back next week, because that seems to be the generator for a lot of the concern, and I believe that goes from maybe more or less Memorial Day to Labor Day. So I would assume our goal would be to try to get that before before the Butterfly House starts operating. That's usually about the 1st of May, and then the splash pad. So that would obviously be the goal, simply because those seem to be the ones that the events that bring the most daily number of people there. I'm not talking about the Thursday night series or something.
No, but the locals, a lot of us locals, and great, because one of the biggest complaints is the porta potties with the kids, and like you said, the Butterfly House and all that. That'd be great if we can go out and say, hey, the county said they can get this done. The goal will be, if it's done earlier. No one complains when something's done earlier. They only complain when it's done later. So yeah, I understand that.
The volunteers that work with the children at the splash pad, they bus them in from the other counties, which is fine. It's a public park; they're free to do that. But the children are brought into the restrooms are open during the operational period that the splash pads utilize. Right. But it won't handle the adult crowd. It just absolutely exactly. will not handle the adult crowd. We're handling the toddlers and the preschoolers in a very safe manner. They have a male and a female with them, and they're supervised and all that. But
and I guess that's just what my other two-part concern is making sure that we don't price ourselves. Your drawings and everything. Of course, we want the best we can get, but is best practical. And I know we are all tight on funds, and everybody wants to be frugal about it, but we still want something safe and something that looks nice. And that's where I don't know if there was more options of drawings proposed. I mean, I went to Clearwater Beach several months ago, and they had, was great, would fit right in with our design. And I know it wasn't cinder block, but it was certainly a nice looking facility that would probably cost half the cost. And that's where I just want to make sure that we look at all the angles, but yet not stop on this.
And that would be the function of the architect. I mean, obviously they're going the board. The process is we would get the proposal from them and then start working with the board and also with the stakeholders on which I would think would primarily be the chamber and the TDC to work through what the design would look like. What kind of quality you want, because it really needs to be very durable. I mean, public restrooms are.
Well, and I agree with you.
You're going to have to understand, another thing to be concerned about, of course, is going to be security. Again, because we have a number of children there. I mean, there's just a number of things that we need to look at. I mean,
we'll work through those problems.
We can't figure them all out.
Yeah, we'll get it built, and we'll solve the security problems. There's a host of details to plow through, and we'll get it done.
Okay, and exactly, and thank you, but like I said, I don't want to Taj Mahal ourselves out to where we still, the porta potties for the past 3-4 years, we've had that versus nothing. So, but thank you, and hopefully we'll count on next spring. Yeah. Thank you.
Ms. Cantu. I'm sorry. Yes, sir, Commissioner Salter.
I just want to make a comment. 2 weeks ago, my wife and I had my little 2-year-old grandson down at Navarre Park, and he truly enjoyed the splash pads, but what was very obvious was no public restroom. So I totally support Commissioner Melvin spending his rec funds to build that restroom.
Ms. Cantu.
Sandra Cantu, Highway 9577, Highway 90 East in Milton. My suggestion would be that that the people who are closest to the need make a list of the minimum things that they need or would like to see in it. My suggestion would be solar heating for water for showers. I remember going to the beach and they had showers that you could wash the sand out. You know, something like that would be nice to have, and maybe make a note of things need to have, nice to have, hey, it would be great to have, something like that, but work with the people that are closest to the need so you can get input from them. It sounds like a great idea. I hate using portable toilets too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I recommend we move the discussion of construction of permanent restroom facilities at Navarre Park to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 4 is discussion of a certificate of participation for the 2014 Florida Department of Law Enforcement FDLE Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, state solicitation, in the amount of $48,394, and designate Lieutenant Butcher of the Sheriff's Office as point of contact. Details in the backup. I recommend approval. I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 5 is discussion of task order SR 2014-3 to contract with the Tidal Basin Government Consulting, LLC, for disaster recovery administrative services associated with April flooding. And I move this to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 6 is discussion of the 5K Dead Pirate Run Walk on Navarre Beach, Saturday.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sandra Cantu, 9577 Highway 90 East in Milton. What is this for? Number 5?
It's these. Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
This is a contract that the board initiated a number of months ago after the flooding with Tidal Basin Consulting, and this is just an extension of those services as we work through the reimbursement process with the state and federal government. This is an allowable cost. They provide service to us as we're documenting the response and the repairs to the April flooding event, primarily roads, parks, the damage that we had.
This sounds like what I was asking you about last week, coordinating all of the stuff that was spent and all the damage that was done. Is that not it?
Ms. Cantu, if you would get with us after this meeting, we need to move through with the budget, but we will get you details to your heart's content on this. But yes, it is. It's follow up on that, those suggestions. And
how much is it for? There's no value here.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe it's a per. They have a per mile. I think it's not to exceed $10,000. I believe was the amount for this particular.
But you say you have some information that I can get from you?
Yes, ma'am.
It's available online.
We'll appreciate you holding that so we can move on through the agenda. Thank you, ma'am. All right, item number 6 is discussion of the 5K Dead Pirate Run Walk on Navarre Beach, Saturday, October the 25th, 2014, beginning at 6 p.m. by the Crew of the Caribbean. I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 8 is information only. Public hearing scheduled for 9:30 a.m. Thursday, July 24th, or none. Item number 8, Commissioner Cole, you had some comments. We've whittled it down to at least 2, maybe 1.
Mr. Chairman, these are just information items about last weekend's NACO trip, and I'll reserve them until Thursday.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. That concludes the Administrative Committee Engineers Report. Mr. Blaylock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is a discussion of the license agreement for the April flood repairs at the 976 Grand Canal from Mr. James Binion. And number 2 is also an accompanying license agreement. What these agreements will allow us to do is work beyond our 20-foot drainage easements as we repair this washout. This is the west washout west of Gondolier. The east side, those 2 property owners also have been contacted with license agreement. We just don't have those coming back at this point. And to update the board, we have received the Army Corps of Engineers dredge and fill permit for dredging those 2 canal locations, and we're working with a property owner for an appropriate spoil site.
Okay, thank you. I recommend we move item number 1 and 2 forward to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 3, we're recommending a resolution authorizing and supporting the inclusion of the Navarre Beach Dune Restoration Project in the fiscal year 2015-16 of the Florida Beaches and Coastal Systems Local Government Funding Request. This is an annual request that we put forward this past year. Navarre Beach was number 1 on the unfunded list. And so with this resolution, we'll resubmit and hopefully we'll be successful next July 1.
Do you have a question regarding this item or comment?
Ralph Agnew, 1749 Shellfish Drive, Navarre, Florida. Just have a comment real quick. I know this is coming under critical beach erosion, which is a 75-25, I think. Cost share 25% under critical.
This would come in at the 50-50 level.
Oh, well, because, when I looked at the paperwork, which I don't have with me, it showed Santa Rosa County as being critically eroded from DEP in 2012.
Yes, and that from 2012, the originally critically eroded beach was what allowed us to move forward with our 2006 renourishment, and I apologize for not knowing if that's designated. We're still on the list, but we're renourishment.
Correct.
And we get behind critically eroded beaches that have no projects.
Okay, and the letter this year from DEP, where it talks about the grant submittal in June that came out, it has the ranking structure that's going on page 13 and 14, where it talks about 10-year plan, financial plan, and on 14 it talks about a dedicated fund, whether it's TDC, MSBU, whatever. Is that going to be addressed also, Roger?
Yes, at some point along the way,
correct,
the decision will have to be made on how to fund the matching.
And I know this has to be very quick because I think this has to be in by August, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes.
This application, correct?
Yes, it does have to be in, but now the funding doesn't have to be ironclaid, adopted ordinance or anything like that. It has to be a commitment from this board on matching.
And those are the questions, that I was asking about the dedicated fund and 10-year plan, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be on there. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you for your input. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Ira Mae Bruce, 7189 Wells Avenue in Holly. And the only thing I wanted to say is our beach is eroded to the point that in front of the condominiums, our vacation guests who are paying thousands of dollars to come to the beach are fighting over a place to put their chair. And it's really, really been bad. We've had the best year that we've had. The county's tax rolls should show that as far as our bed taxes and our sales taxes, and it's just, there's nothing we can do. I mean, we can't go out there and put them a little sand out for them. So it's just really, I don't know what the state or the studies show, but for Navarre Beach, it's critical.
Yeah.
And
total tourist spending, primarily from the south end, but total tourist spending for last year, according to the Haas Center's estimates, around about $120 million when you take the bed tax yielding what it does, and we were charging 4%, so that gives you the room, and then from there they know how many people per room, and they assume $110 a person. So tourism is huge, and it's primarily probably 85% of that comes from the south end. So we understand the importance of.
I wasn't sure that you knew it, but if the people don't come back next year because we don't have any beaches, and they don't want to go down to the public beaches because they've just paid $3,000 to stay in the week to be on right in front of the beach, and can go up to their apartments and back, they're going to move somewhere else. And we found that after hurricanes, it can take us 5 to 7 years to recoup our customers back. So it's pretty serious for us. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Name and address, please, for the record.
Andrea McDermott, 8093 Sleepy Bay Boulevard, Navarre, Florida.
I'd just like to agree with Ira May. I had some information I was going to discuss in the public forum because I know Mr. Melvin doesn't like me speaking out of turn. But I do have some
Not out of
more
turn,
comments
just
I'd
stay
like
on
to
the-
make.
Just stay on the item at hand, and
Yes.
that's what the forum is for anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item number 3, discussion of the resolution authorizing the inclusion of the Navarre Beach Sand Dune Restoration in fiscal year 15-16 Florida beaches and coastal systems, local government funding. I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 4 is a discussion of a deductive change order in the amount of $258,073.52 to the contract with Berkshire Johnstone for the owner-direct purchases of our T hangar buildings at Peter Prince Airport. This will result in a savings of $14,631 to the county.
Any questions? I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 5 is an update on our landfill gas collection and control system with our blower and flare station. If I could have my computer projected, thank you. This project was a $1.275 million construction project. It's ongoing because once you put in your landfill gas collection, as we fill our landfill, we will continue to expand the collection so that our new waste stream will be generating gas, and we will be collecting that gas as well. It involves landfill header pipe, 12-inch, 8-inch HDP, as you see. I won't go through all of this. Would like to focus your attention on our extraction wells. We have 2 types of extraction wells. We have cased and uncased wells. The ones without caissons are generally our permanent wells in the lower reaches and on the sides of the landfill. Those are those that will remain in that condition with just a maintenance and continued testing. It consists of a vertical shaft, as you see here, perforated pipe going through a rock media. It comes to and is extracted and collected by the header pipes. As you can collect landfill gas, you know, it's a warm gas, and as it makes contact with the atmosphere and the pipes, it tends to create condensate. And so we have a condensate collection system as well, whereby we're pumping that water out to keep our collection system from becoming saturated, which would stop the collection. And then in our active cells on top of the landfill, as we continue to grow, we have our caisson wells, and as we backfill, we extend the perforated pipe. We disconnect the top, of course, the wellhead assembly, elevate it, pull the caisson just straight on by on the gravity, and just keep that caisson moving upward as we grow. Backfilling, of course, with our sand and media, and you see in the bottom picture right there, this is an extended caisson and the extraction well head and the collection system ready to be backfilled. And so we will continue this process. Some of the ancillary items, of course, are in our sumps. We have air-driven pumps to remove the condensate from our collection system, because you do not want to introduce any electrical spark or overheat this, because the one thing you control at all costs is the landfill fire. And so you do not want to be artificially allowing air to be introduced into your landfill mass. We have a blower flare station that's operational. We're continuing to tweak it. Even as we speak today, we have a technician on site working with our flare system. The compressor system provides air around the entire landfill to drive our pumps, and then, of course, a continuous gas analyzer, and then, of course, our flare and condensate knockout sump station within this fenced area. Some of the equipment that we've purchased, continued, is a fusing machine whereby we'll be fusing the 2 to 4 inch HDPE pipe as we extend, as well as a handheld gas meter. This is what we monitor the top of our landfill and all the other areas to see if we need to put spot wells in to keep that gas from migrating from the landfill. And so with that, I'd open up to any questions the board might have about our operation.
Any questions before we proceed? All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Roger, I appreciate you bringing this to the board. This is a project that I've really been near and dear to me over the last few years getting into. I know we had some slow wheels turning there at first, but, you know, it's great to see it at this point. Do you have any idea, I'm sure you do, what kind of measurements we have at this point?
Currently, we're at about 160 CFMS, which is cubic feet per minute standardized.
Okay.
We're looking to tweak that and move it up as we bring the entire system online, and we are purchasing additional pumps to remove condensate because we've got some collection system that is saturated full of water and gas will not pass. But we're looking at somewhere between 300 and 350 when we tweak it and optimize it. Currently running at about 160.
And at what threshold do we get to where we can co-generate or sell it? And
I don't think you'll ever reach to co-generate, and because that has something like a 10, 12-year payback, but certainly we'd look at compressed natural gas to operate our fleet or our fleet of collection trucks, because each of our haulers, our two major haulers, contacted us this year asking how many CNG trucks they needed to purchase. And so that is the direction we'll be looking at.
Good.
The break point, I don't have that exactly for you, but certainly at some point around that 300, you would think it would be economically feasible to put a collection, stripping, cleaning system, and then provide that to our haulers.
Thanks, sir.
Well, not having that gas just escape into the atmosphere and being able to flare it is a step in the right direction. I'm glad we moved that way before.
And there are other
mandated.
landfills that are generating this gas, and they're selling it at about a $2 a diesel equivalent gallon.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
And then item number 6, we just recommend the approval of the construction plans for Pelican Bay. This is a subdivision that's come before the board on several occasions, located in Working District 5. The consultants assure us they're going to try to make the cuts. So with that, that concludes the engineer's report.
All right, I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. That concludes the engineer's report. Public Services, Commissioner Lynchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is discussion of approval of a resolution adopting the updated Title VI plan as required for the receipt of federal funds. There's backup material in your agenda packages. Unless there are any questions, I'll move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 2 is discussion of approval of the rural transportation priorities for submittal to the West Florida Regional Planning Council. Some members of the council are here. Mary Beth, do you have anything you want to say on this?
Thank you, Commissioner Lynchard, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Mary Beth Washnock. I'm with the West Florida Regional Planning Council, and I do want to, if possible, go over a couple of maps with you. Each of you should have a copy of these 2 maps at your place, and we're going to project them up here. The first map we have, these are the requests from your staff this year. And you have State Road 87 from the TPO boundary, that's the Metropolitan Planning Area boundary, to the Alabama state line, and that is for a 4-lane facility. We have actually removed the second priority, that is a realignment at the Chumuckla Crossroads at County Road 197 and County Road 182. And then you have Munson Highway from Stewart Street or State Road 87 to State Road 4, and that is for paved shoulders. You have County Road 197 Chumuckla Highway from Highway 90 to Fox Pond Trail for paved shoulders, and that's to complete a project that is already in place at Fox Pond North. Then you have State Road 89, Alabama Street at Escambia Avenue to southbound right turn lane. That's from the town of Jay from last year. And then another left turn lane at State Road 89, Alabama Street at Pine Street. Then you have State Road 4 from City Hall to the western town boundary. That's the town of Jay boundary, and that's for a sidewalk project. You have another sidewalk project from Spring Street. It's Spring Street from Mildred Street to School Street. Again, that's in the town of Jay. And then you have a resurfacing, widening, and bridge repair project request. This is Greenwood Road from State Road 89 to State Road 4. So the only correction to that map is the removal of the intersection realignment in Chumuckla. The next map, these are actually the projects that have been programmed in the next 5 years for the Florida Department of Transportation. And we also need to remove that first project that was Spring Hill Road for a bridge replacement. That has already been completed by the county. And the next two projects you have, number 2 is State Road 4 from Max Lane to the Town of Jay City Hall. That's a sidewalk project. And a resurfacing project from State Road 4 from County Road 87, Market Road to Okaloosa County line. And those are the projects. We will be going to the Town of Jay this evening and meeting with them to see if they have additional projects they would like to add to the request list. Just want to mention that this is the 50th year for the West Florida Regional Planning Council. We are going out to our local governments and letting you know that if there is anything you need in assistance as far as planning or technical support, we want to be there for you. And we appreciate your commitment. Let me just reiterate that these projects are all in the rural area. They are all in District 3 in Commissioner Salter's district. The other projects fall into the Transportation Planning Organization process, the TPO, the Florida-Alabama TPO. And as most of you know, you are all a member of that board. And we will be meeting on August 13th. So we look forward to seeing you, Commissioner Williamson. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Mary Beth? No. Thank you very much. Then I will move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 3 is discussion of approval of the short sale for 6942 Cedar Ridge Road, Milton, in lieu of foreclosure and acceptance of $1,000 as satisfaction of mortgage. This is actually a property that's already been through the process before, but that fell through. There is a bit of a need to speed this up and go ahead and approve it today rather than moving it to Thursday because there's a pending closing on the property. So are there any questions about this? If not, I will move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
And that concludes public services, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Lynchard. Public Works, Commissioner Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item on Public Works Committee, we have discussion of 1-year extension of agreement with Altman Landscaping, LLC for annual lawn services at current rates. I'd like to move to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes. What, do you have a question? Do you have a question on this item? All right.
Sandra Cantu, 9577 Highway 90 East. How much is this for and what's it for?
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to answer that?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, this is for landscaping that our building maintenance department manages at county buildings. I don't know the exact amount. We can get that for you, but that's what it's for, is county buildings, the landscaping that's done there.
Does it follow the recommended requirements of saving water and not using a lot of fertilizers, using natural plants or local plants? Is there any...
This is maintaining existing plants. This is not adding plants. And it's really not anything to do with irrigation. This is just doing the mowing and the trimming of the hedges and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Cantu, that's $11,820 is what's in my supporting documents.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And we moved that to Thursday without objection, so we're up to item 2.
Item number 2, we have a discussion of 1-year extension of agreement with Comfort Systems USA Southeast for annual mechanical HVAC services at current rates. I'd like to move to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Number 3, we have a discussion of acceptance of deeds for 15 feet of right-of-way along the east side of Kaiser Lane. I'd like to move to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Number 4, we have a discussion of resurfacing the following roads in Working District 1 at an estimated cost of $208,501. Slalom Drive, northern point 4 miles, Del Monte Street, 14th Avenue to 16th, Roaring Sea Lane, Jerry Street, Arlene Street, San Jose Street, Southland Boulevard, Southern Place to Rambling Way, Cobalt Lane, and Fawnwood Drive. I'd like to move to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Number 5, we have discussion of paving the following roads in work in District 1 at an estimated cost of $55,461. North 30th Avenue, Buell Lane, Pandora Drive, Pomano Street. I'd like to move to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
We had a add-on, or 2 add-ons to the agenda, and I'm going to let Mr. Whitfield take care of number 6, which was, I guess, the bid on the Munson Bridge.
We received bids on a bridge rehabilitation project on Munson Highway. This is part of an ongoing SCOP, Small County Outreach Program project that we have underway. In fact, the paving on that project is already complete, and we're continuing with the shoulder work and those kind of things. But part of the SCOP project included rehabilitation of the bridge. And so we've already, the board in past months has approved the funding for that, and this is also a project in which, because it is a SCOP project, we will be reimbursed from the state on 75% of the cost. And so I guess I should note also that this is probably, because our population has now exceeded 150,000 in Santa Rosa County, this is probably going to be our last SCOP project. So that's something we'll have to address in the future, is how to deal with the loss of that funding source from the state.
Do we need to action on this today, or can we move this to Thursday?
We can move it to Thursday.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any? I'd like to move to Thursday's agenda without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
And number 7 was a Baghdad site, and then Mr. Whitfield, I'm going to let you speak on that as well.
Okay, this was also a low bid for the Baghdad Mill site project, a T-pier to be built, and we also have funding in place for this project through, I believe, grants and TDC funds.
Do you have any questions from any of the commissioners? I'd like to move to Thursday's agenda without objection for the Baghdad Mill site.
Hearing none, it passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have today.
Thank you, sir. Budget and Finance Committee, Commissioner Cole.
Thank you. Item number 1 is discussion of bids received for the housing rehabilitation project located at 4555 Church Street in Baghdad. Low bidder meeting specification is Design Home Builders Incorporated with a bid of $29,420. Staff recommended the increase of the $4,420 over the usual $25,000 that we're capped at. Mr. Gomain, do you have anything else to add to that? If not, any questions from members of the board? I'll move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 2 is discussion of budget amendment 2014-151 in the amount of $43,915 to carry forward funds for the Navarre Beach Sea Turtle Conservation Center and Marine Sanctuary in the Tourist Development Fund as approved at the July 10, 2014 BOCC regular meeting. I move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 3 is discussion of budget amendment 2014-152 in the amount of $35,108 to carry forward funds in the Road and Bridge Fund for the Pine Blossom Road Drainage Repair Project as approved at the July 10, 2014 Board of County Commissioner regular meeting. I move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 4, discussion of budget amendment 2014-153 in the amount of $6,500 to carry forward funds in the Road and Bridge Fund for FDOT LAP Local Assistance Program for in-house design for sidewalks along Tiger Point Boulevard as approved at the July 10, 2014 Board of County Commissioner regular meeting. I move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 5 is discussion of the budget amendment 2014-154 in the amount of $119,000 to carry forward funds in the Road and Bridge Fund for another FDOT LAP local assistance project for design of mill and resurfacing County Road 184A, Berry Hill Road, as approved at the July 10th, 2014 Board of County Commissioner regular meeting. I move out without objection to Thursday.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 6, discussion of budget amendment 2014-155 in the amount of $108,609 to transfer funds from the capital fund to the general fund for re-roofing of the Gulf Breeze Library building as approved at the July 10th, 2014 Board of County Commissioner regular meeting. I move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 7 is discussion of budget amendment 2014-156 in the amount of $3,450 to carry forward the crime prevention funds and allocate the sheriff's office expenditure in the fine and forfeiture fund. I move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 8, discussion of budget amendment 2014-157 in the amount of $786 to carry forward funds to pay invoices for permitting and publication of legal notices in the Santa Rosa Shores Canal Fund. I move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 10, discussion of budget amendment 2014-158 in the amount of $31,840 to transfer funds from the capital fund to the general fund for the purchase of 8 EVID compact units for the supervisor of elections. Each unit is an electric poll book replacing the paper precinct rosters. I move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
And final item is discussion of county expenditure and check register, which I'll sign and have ready for Thursday. I'll do that, move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the report.
Thank you. Public forum. Anybody having anything else to bring before the board?
Andrea McDermott, 8093 Sleepy Bay Boulevard, Navarre, Florida. I have 3 things today. One, I'd like to thank whoever got rid of those sailboats out by the boat ramp on Navarre Beach, the one that was on land and also the one that was barely in the water. The one that was barely in the water is now floating at least, and the one that was on land is gone, thank God.
That's the Navarre Beach Beautification Committee, Mr. Larry Sims and crowd.
I appreciate the work that they did to get rid of those. The second thing is there's a house that's been burned down for 2 years on Balin Court. The address is 2716 Balin Court, Navarre. It's had complaints put against it. I believe one of the ladies in the county has said that they're working to get the owner to tear it down. It's been 2 years. It's been way too long. I don't know if you have anything you can do to help move that along, but I would appreciate seeing that house get torn down. It is a hazard and an eyesore to the community. The third thing I have...
Excuse me just a minute. Did we get that address, or do we need an email? We got it? Okay, thank you.
It's in the system, so, you know, hopefully they should be able to push it along
Sure.
where we can finally get that thing torn down. I have some pictures, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Putting on my association manager hat, I manage several communities and condo associations along Navarre Beach. And one of the big problems we do have is the beach chair vendors. It's been a problem for years. This is nothing new. And I've been before you on several occasions to discuss this problem. This March, Roger Blaylock and Terry Wallace held a meeting at the utilities office on the beach, and they had all of the rental agents, condo managers, and beach vendors show up in an attempt to stay away from these problems that we've had in the past. It seemed to work for a little while. The week before July 4th weekend, it started picking up with the same old problems we've had in the past. There's more than one problem, and as Ira May has stated, you know, we don't have a lot of beach because of the erosion in some spots. We do have a leave no trace ordinance. If you look at the picture that I gave you, it does show the sign, leave no trace ordinance, that was provided by Mr. Blaylock down along every beach walkway for every condo and every county walkway along the beach. We still have a problem with beach vendors, not just people, but beach vendors who are leaving their items out overnight or coming out at 2 and 3 in the morning. The reports have told me at 2 and 3 in the morning they'll come out and they'll set up along the beach. You know, that causes a problem with the turtle folks. It causes a problem with the beach cleaning folks. But it also causes the fights of who's going to get down there first to put their stuff up so that they can get their prime location along the beach, because everyone wants to be in the front row. So we've also come across another problem. Our other problem is we have people, I'll call it squatting. They're squatting on places where they don't have contracts with the upland property owners. And when they've been approached by Terry Wallace or me or anyone else down on the beach, including not just the condos I manage, but other condos, we all talk. This person has said, there's nothing you can do about it. There's not a beach ordinance that says I can't do it. And they're right. There's nothing that we can do about it except adjust the permitting system and adopt an ordinance. I'm asking you, again, to consider an ordinance. Okaloosa County has an ordinance that was adopted in 2004. And in their ordinance, section 16-50, it states that they must have the permission of the upland property owners. I gave you a link on the paper I handed to you for the beach ordinance that Okaloosa County is using. They had the same problem. They had to adopt an ordinance. And they also had to adopt a permit system where every year the beach vendor has to go to the county and request a permit for that address, and they have to show that they have insurance. They have to show that they're licensed. They have to show that they have a contract with the upland property owners for that area, and they get a permit for that address. And it's worked out well for them, and I think that something similar could work out for us. I know ordinances take a while to pass, but you could adjust the current permitting system where right now you permit for, and they get the whole beach. You could permit for just each single address. What we have now has occurred. Beachview and Sugar Beach, and Ira Mays, she's here with us today, so she can also attest. They don't care to have a beach service vendor, and that's never been a problem. If somebody wanted to call and order a beach service from one of the local companies, they could, but we didn't provide it as part with the speculative chairs. And now we have a beach vendor who's come out to Beachview and Sugar Beach, and that's the picture taken Friday morning at 6 a.m. by one of my concerned homeowners. And they're setting up speculative chairs behind condominiums that don't want speculative chairs. They just want to have it open for their guests to use and bring their own equipment or to call out on an individual basis for the chairs. And he's squatting. This same vendor has also done this over on the property to the west of Caribbean Resort. It used to be beach condominiums is one of the spots. There's actually 2 lots. And there's a county walkover. I thought I had an agreement with this gentleman where he would not approach my customers on the beach behind Caribbean Resort, because he was harassing last year. He was harassing my customers, and I believe the commissioners got a few emails about that. So, and I'm sorry, Jerry, you weren't privy to that. If you're like, I can probably forward those emails to you. But this person, I thought I had an agreement with him this year, because there are so many people who want to use chairs and they all want the front row, that after the ones fill up at Caribbean, they're going to naturally progress over to this vacant lot where he does not have permission of the upland property owner. But he goes and he harasses the customers, and I have video, which I couldn't send because y'all have limits on size, but I have a video of him running up while my beach vendor behind Caribbean Resort was servicing a customer, yelling, "I'll give it to you for $40 cheaper a week and I'll throw in a kayak." And you can hear it on the video clearly. And that was taken by an owner at Caribbean Resort who has been tired of being harassed while on the beach. So this has started up again. I told him, just stay over there. You know, we have a no solicitation policy on the beach. I said, just stay over there on your side. You'll get customers. Just leave us alone over here. And it was working until the week before 4th of July. And it started again. And now he's squatting on Beachview, which is another property that I manage. He actually took chairs. I also manage Emerald Surf. He took chairs from behind Emerald Surf where he has the contract. Never had a problem with him there. He did what he was supposed to do per his contract. But he took chairs from behind there and moved them to this vacant lot next to Caribbean Resort. And then he would tell the people who had paid for a yearly fee for his service at Emerald Surf, I don't have them, I'm booked. Well, yes, he was, on a property that he doesn't have permission of the upland property owners, and he's harassing the neighboring properties, not just Caribbean Resort, but the Pearl, Beach Colony, and I believe he's even gone down so far as Ira May's other property, the Regency. So if we get a permitting system that says they can only go behind the beach that they're at, it doesn't matter. It's fair and square if they get the contract. I'm not trying to limit anyone's ability to do business on the beach, but I have got to get it to where my customers are not being harassed and don't feel that they have to duck and hide from someone when they want to go out and put their feet in the sand. And I hope that the county commissioners will look at the ordinance that Okaloosa has and try to pass something similar. But in the meantime, hopefully you can adjust the permitting system to where it requires the upland property owner to give them permission to be behind there. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions for you, and I appreciate
Okay.
you bringing this to our attention again. This is a very complex issue, and we're going to have to work through it, but it's here, and we are going to have to work through it. Do you have any idea what the magnitude of this business is? I've heard speculation that it's $100,000 a year.
Yes, sir, I've heard that also.
Yeah.
The person who runs the business has not given me that number. That came from, I believe, a county employee who spoke with him, and he said that he made $100,000 last year.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how he pays his taxes or how the tax base works on that, but
That's not our problem.
but
right
it
here,
is
right
it's a
now.
growing business.
Well, one of the problems is that that's a public beach, and
Right.
they don't need permission from the upland owner because it's public. But it's incumbent upon the county probably to step into this. It clearly has gone unregulated to the point that it is a problem. We're harassing our tourists, and as I mentioned earlier, the peninsula end of Santa Rosa County by itself generates about $130 million worth of economic growth in this county, and that's a lot of money. We can't have one bad seed disrupting that. So we're going to have to revisit this issue, and it will be falling on the county's shoulders, and not it, because the upland owner has no more right than you can stand out there and tell somebody who can and can't walk on a sidewalk.
Well, that's the
Because
problem
that
we're running
sidewalk-
into.
That sidewalk is public, and so is that beach. So it's incumbent upon us to handle it, and we will take this under advisement, and we will come up with a policy, just as a point of departure, suggestion to the staff, that if in fact the popular opinion is that we're talking $100,000 a year plus business, that's good for them. I'm a capitalist too, but if they're harassing our visitors, our public, then we need to regulate it, and we might need to sell those rights to vend on the public beach.
I hate to add regulation, but this is something that's really needed.
There's not a regulation law or whatever on the face of God's green earth that isn't there because of an abuse of usually some minority person, i.e. everybody else is doing it right, but that one or two or three or four folks that just can't follow the rules. And every law ever in existence was spun up because of some small irritant.
Well, and I'm sure there's at least one more beach vendor I know who started behind a house or a HOA, who has the right in the contract with the HOA. And he's actually talking about growing his business in the same manner of squatting. So it concerns me that this is going to be a bigger problem if something's not done.
We have had gentlemen's agreements with the condo association and asked them to handle certain aspects of beach tidiness, beach support, et cetera, in exchange for letting them have that revenue. And we're just going to have to look at the whole thing again from top to bottom. So thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mayor, we appreciate your input. I know it's a big problem for you as well.
Well, I just have to say, it's not just the beach vendors, it's the guests that also set up at daylight.
Yeah.
And by the time the beach vendors get there, and the people that don't get up because they're on vacation they haven't designated somebody to be out on the beach at 6 o'clock in the morning, to put their tents back up. It's a fight almost every day between all of them.
Right.
And we never had a problem at Sugar Beach because we don't allow the beach vendors. If the owners want to call, we got the phone numbers. If they want to call them to have them set up, they can do it. But we don't allow a company to do our beach. We have another project that does. They hire one company, and they only want that company out there, and the company pays them a couple $1,000s a year to use the beach. I personally believe that the beach doesn't belong to us. I know it doesn't belong to me in front of mine, because we've got a mound that's a huge mound. We don't want to be bothered, but is still the bottom line problem of it is our beach renourishment. When we had 100 feet of beach, we didn't have this problem.
Yes, and this might be another source. We'll look at it. It's a problem. It's incumbent upon us to fix it, and we appreciate you bringing it back to our attention. So we'll.
We won't have a problem after August 15th until next spring, so that you'll have plenty of time to work on it.
Well, it's something we have to fix, so we'll get on that. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your input. Ms. Cantu?
Sandra Cantu, 9577 Highway 90 East, Milton. I'll be brief. On the way into the meeting this morning, I heard a report that Escambia County and Pensacola were getting together and making a list, apparently, of all the damage that was done from the flooding and trying to figure out what was causing it and trying to prevent it from now on. And I wondered if Santa Rosa County is going to take part in that. You're going to join them, or if you're going to do your own report to the taxpayers.
We're doing. You remember that item you questioned earlier about what was this and why were we doing it? That's what we're doing.
Yes, sir. I wasn't going to mention that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking a structured look at it. We're going to get the experts to tell us what the priorities are, and we're going to have a list so that the boards that follow behind us is not something that's going to get fixed in 15 minutes.
Right.
So the boards that follow behind us will have a roadmap, and they'll see what the priorities were, which ones have been completed, which ones need to be completed, and they'll reevaluate as time goes on. Priorities will change, and they will reevaluate those things, and the new boards in the future may work the priorities around, but at least they'll have a roadmap. And yes, ma'am, that's what we were doing today. That's some of the final touches to that. So that's well in hand.
I appreciate it. I've heard people that have trouble, and they said, I've been complaining about this for months and months and months, and nobody ever did anything. I appreciate your time.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you.
You know, one of the things...
Ms. Cantu, turn that light back on. We have another citizen behind you.
One of the things Escambia County could do would be to align their stormwater requirements with Santa Rosa County. Since 1996, of course, Santa Rosa County is built to the 100-year storm, which both Escambia and Okaloosa County currently been built to the 25-year storm. So in the event that we'd had the last flooding event, every new construction since 1996 has been built 4 times, with 4 times the retention capacity that either of our neighbors have.
And that was overwhelmed in August, in April.
That is significant. 4 times. We had 689 homes damaged in Santa Rosa County. For the last 20 years, we had 1/4 of the retention capacity to catch the storm. We would have had the same numbers as Escambia and Okaloosa County.
And I would think that if I'm in an area that's been flooded twice in the last year, and every time it's a 100-year flood, after a while I would begin not to believe a 100-year flood is anything extravagant. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please, and fill out a speaker's form if you're not familiar with the procedure before you leave the building.
My name is Elizabeth Jennings.
Pull it up closer to you, dear. You speak so softly we can't hear you.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Elizabeth Jennings. I'm also known as Betty. I have lived in Santa Rosa County since 1988, and I would like to address once again the need for public transportation in the county. Some of my colleagues and associates thought that we were going to be able to speak earlier this morning about it, but they didn't, I guess, follow protocol to get on the list. So,
Mr. Chairman, excuse me just a minute.
Yes.
It's my understanding that Dr. Karen Barber will be here Thursday to give us a presentation on bridges out of poverty, which will include a conversation about public transportation as well. So you haven't missed your chance yet.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that very much. Just wanted to plead for those that aren't able to be here because of other things, other activities. There is a growing need for it. Escambia County, they do have ECAT, a transportation system that's not perfect, but it does help people in the community get from place to place, taking the burden off of other people, family members, giving dignity and respect to those that, want to maintain some sense of independence and self-sufficiency. So I'm not a public speaker, but I just would like to ask that the commissioners please give it sincere thought. We really do need public transportation. People are struggling. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything before we adjourn? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you for your participation.